One myth about the origin of the Milky Way is that Cupid was suckling at Juno's breast. He was disturbed, and breast milk flowed up into the sky to form the Milky Way.
We couldn't make a video about ancient astronomy without mentioning the Antikythera mechanism.
Built in 100 BC, it's thought to be the world's oldest computer, plotting the positions of the sun, moon and planets.
You can find out more about the mechanism at heritagekey.com.
You may be lying in the gutter, but if you can look up at the stars, then you've got something to hope for.
The Ancient World in London isn't just about the video series, it's a festival of virtual and real-life events. One of those events was with famed astronomer Paul Murden.
I imagine early people simply gazing up at the sky and trying to make sense of what it is they see, trying to make sense of the migrations of animals, trying to understand the seasons and the way crops grow. They projected their own imagination onto the sky by creating constellation figures. They observed the phases of the moon. They gradually came to assimilate the way these things work and to use them in different ways. On the bone are carved markings. It's thought that the length of the scratches represents the phases of the moon. As the moon gets bigger, the scratches get larger until the full moon, and then the scratches get smaller. Maybe the owner was a woman who for some reason was keeping track of a menstrual cycle. But this person was making astronomical observations 25,000 years ago. Prehistoric Britons made edifices like Stonehenge, which are oriented towards astronomical events 5,000 years ago or so. They would be probably the first known astronomers in the British Isles.
And how could we miss the opportunity to visit our favourite heritage site, Stonehenge?
This is a lunar alignment, and I stood here in July 2006 and watched the southernmost moon rise directly over that station stone. And to see that with your own eyes and realise the monument still works after 5,000 years is great. Stonehenge kind of straddles this era in history from the late Neolithic through to the Middle Bronze Age, from about 3000 BC to about 1600 BC. And in there you've kind of got the end of the transformation from the hunter-gatherer culture into the agriculture which developed later. It doesn't take long, a year or so, to notice that the sun rises in a different place on the horizon from day to day. And after a year you can spot that it goes backwards and forwards along the horizon like a pendulum. That's the basis of your first calendar. There is some evidence to suggest that the Stonehenge alignments were originally lunar. It's not quite exactly on the solar alignment. The terminals of the ditches seem to have been remodeled to try and coax it in that direction. Very few people appreciate that if you go out on a clear, starlit night in properly dark skies, you can see well enough to walk. That's what the ancient peoples knew about, and that was intimately involved with their lives in a way that it isn't today.
And I'd hope that everybody somewhere got the chance to go to a place that was darkish and to be told about the stars in the sky. The stars are the common heritage of mankind, and we all have a right to enjoy them.
From the Shango bones 25,000 years ago to Stonehenge to modern space stations, we've come a pretty long way. But what astronomical discoveries do you think are just round the corner?